Okay, so what I'd like to do, you guys are the first people in the whole world to see this middle painting. I finished it this afternoon, which is why I work in acrylic, because I don't like waiting for things to dry. So I want to talk about kind of where this style of art came from and what it means to live vividly, and like the spirit behind these vivid parlor events. And the best way to tell that story is a personal story about going from being very perfectionistic, a lot of pressure to produce, to being very self-expressed. I was not old Katy. An older version of Katy would have said this painting is way too silly to show in public, and I don't feel that way at all anymore. I think it's great. So let me start with, have any of you felt like you're not far ahead enough in life? Like you should be farther ahead than you are now. Yeah, like if you were to focus more or be more productive, figure out something that somebody else has figured out about focus, then you have more done, and it would be great. So this is a really, we all feel this now. I particularly did, in terms of feeling like I needed to be a performer and not make mistakes. And all the way through my teen years and my 20s, and having a business in marketing, especially in copywriting, you learn to write things for the audience so to keep their attention, which is another kind of performance. This is important. This is important. Trust me, this is important. And so being an artist and just making whatever gave me joy, there was a lot of tension there for me. So I'll start with this piece. This one is called Both And. This is a print. It was originally a pastel on newsprint. And the symbolism in it, when I make pieces like this, I tend to just pick symbols and start going, and then the meaning comes to me as I go. And this one, what came out was the iguana being like the reptile brain. The part of our brain that's the oldest biological part that's kept us safe for all the millennia of humanity, which is where fear comes from. The reptile brain. Have you guys heard of people talk about the reptile brain? Yeah, okay. I'm crazy. So we live with this. We need the reptile brain in order to survive. It keeps us safe. Also, the volume on the reptile brain, that fear brain, can really turn up and take over. And for me, it had for a long time. And then this disco ball is kind of the opposite of that. It's, for me, intuition, whatever brings you joy, reflecting the colors in the light around you, all of that fun, sparkly stuff. And so I loved the contrast between, I need the reptile brain to survive. Fear's not going anywhere, but I don't want to live from there. And I did this piece before the first Vivid Parlor. I was super nervous. I always wanted to show my art, but I never really had, because calling myself an artist, there was just this block there for me. I felt like I had all this creativity. I'm sure some of you felt this too. You have so much in you to get out into the world, but there's so much editing going on that it just won't come out. And so for a while I thought like, if I do more work, if I just show up to the table and make more art, do more writing, then it'll come out more. And it didn't. I mean, it did in the sense that more got produced, but then I would do that for a month or two, and then would slow down and even stop for 6 months at a time. And the kind of tune of this fear voice for me was, like I said, it's not okay to make mistakes. It's not safe. You need to be perfect and show up for everyone to kind of make them all happy. Hello, people pleasers and recovering people pleasers in the room. And, period of having a business, it was like, if you focus, this linear thing will happen where you just build one square up and to the right every single day, and then your dreams will come true. And I really felt that pressure. Just keep persisting in your fitting into the box and being a useful person to society. This shit is not useful. It's fun. You know what I mean? I mean, people could pay for it, but it's a full self-expression. And at the time, I was like, how is someone going to relate to this? They're going to think it's silly. Which takes me to this painting and how I kind of was able to turn down the voice of that fear of perfectionism and be able to make something that I would call silly, but is also just makes me so happy. So this piece is, I think I'm going to call it ceremonial matcha because it is, I used a reference photo of myself. I drink matcha every day. There's like a menagerie ceremony going on, and I picked the symbols just because I like them, and I picked the colors because I like them, and one of the things that it reflects is this experimentation that I had to do to train myself that it's safe to express. And it's like training any other muscle. Taking small experiments and like sharing a little more of my own upset with someone I care about and seeing like, are they still there? And then tells my brain, oh my gosh, I was safe, I was fine. Not only was I fine, but like they felt so valued and appreciated, you know? Who knew? Experiments like that, experiments like dressing the way I wanted to, just like very small, steady, hey, it is safe to listen to this kind of intuition and follow the joy. And then one of the other experiments that especially led to this style that is more of a collage, lots of different symbols. One of the cool things about being a writer and then also being visual is that writers and visual artists and poets will have a practice of just noticing, which is why I really love spaces like this, because it makes you be present because there's so much detail to notice. And you can just walk around in those front rooms and kind of feel the colors and sense the different animals and have all these little ahas and all these nooks and crannies. And so when I host these events, I want the sensory elements to be overwhelming because it's a training for when we go back into ordinary life, all of this kind of texture is around us all the time, still. And when you kind of run the experiment of noticing the small things, it's a lot harder to worry about problem solving, first of all, and to-do lists. And also the appreciation just grows and grows and grows for the ordinary things in life. And so putting all these things that are like, you know, maybe if you saw a snail on your sidewalk, you wouldn't even notice it. But putting it together with all these other different symbols, and then garden gnomes because I love gnomes. Something about this style came from the practice of noticing and allowing really a sense of aliveness just from ordinary things. And that takes me to this final piece. So this piece was a collaborative group project. So I painted the middle for the first Vivid Parlor, which was in June last year. That was a complete dream come true for me. I had never been in a gallery, never hosted a gallery, and I hosted like 120 person interactive gallery like this, just much bigger. My family came out and I woke up the next morning and that was a pivotal moment for me. I was like, I literally woke up and I was like, did that happen? Am I in the life now where I've put on an event that people enjoyed and my art was there? And I like woke up and just sat with that for a few minutes. Like, I don't know, like a chick flick or something. And so this painting was sitting on top of a stand and all of the strings were over the sides. And it was one of the activities to kind of thread the strings and make the outside and just keep seeing this message of live vividly. And the phrase, the mantra of living vividly stuck. I have jacket now. It's like my birthday cake said live vividly. And to me, it's become this mantra of many things that I imagine you can interpret and sense for yourself. One of them being, it takes an act of will to step out of the current of problem solving and to-do lists and focus and pressure to kind of be a robot with this promise of like maybe you get robot results out in the future, some future purpose. It takes an act of will to step out of that current and feel alive, like feel full of life and be available to enjoy all of the detail and the texture and the color and the connection that's happening all the time. And it's kind of like a, hey, I don't think the purpose of life is some future accomplishment purpose. I think, what if the purpose of living is to be alive? And so that's what it means to live vividly. And that's kind of the contribution that I am wanting to bring with Parlors more and more consistently. So it means the world to me that you all came out. Genuinely, thank you so much. And I hope you met someone else who is interesting and you had a great conversation. And I hope you enjoyed noticing and being present. And thank you so much for seeing me in my highly expressive, kind of silly, very colorful artwork.